Alright guys, today we are looking at being able to write and solve problems that represent concrete situations. We are going to focus on perimeter and area today. So before we even get started, think to yourself, do you remember what perimeter and area are? Think about it. Could you define those words? Do you know what those words are? Alright, hopefully you came up with that. Perimeter is the distance around an object, and area is the amount of space contained within an object. Okay, so what if I told you to create an expression for the perimeter of this shape? Just asked you to write an expression for the perimeter of that shape. What would you write? Hopefully, you put 2 plus 3 plus 4. You should not add them up if you are just simply creating an expression. If you were asked to then evaluate that expression or to then find the perimeter or something along those lines, then you could actually go on and say, all right, it's 9 centimeters or inches or whatever the units happen to be. But you don't do that automatically. If you're supposed to write an expression, you just simply write the expression and that's it. Then you're done. Okay? What about writing an expression for the perimeter of this object? Well, there's a couple ways you could write this one because it kind of depends on how you understand perimeter. You could just simply add up all the sides, but if you believe that this is a rectangle, which it certainly looks like it is, you could also maybe just write 2x plus 16. That would probably be acceptable, as would x plus 8 plus 8. All of those would be, both of those I think would be reasonably acceptable. But you want to be careful that you don't evaluate too much. In this case, there's no real danger in that since we have an x. Let's look at area for a second. So we're only going to focus on areas of rectangles and squares for right now, just because that's the easier formula to understand. So what would be an expression for the area of this particular rectangle? Well, you multiply length times width, so it would be 5 times x, or simply 5x. That would be your expression. Now you're probably asking yourself, well, Mr. Strange, this is really pretty easy. Why do we need to know this? Well, the why is a little bit different. Being able to create an expression kind of frees you up a little bit. Okay, so for example, perimeter. Let's say that you are building a fence. Okay, you're building a fence. And you have some options for how you want to create this fence. Like you're trying to create just like a fenced-in area for a garden. Okay, and you've got, let's say, 160 feet of fencing. All right? And you've got a garden, and now all you really know is that you've got this wonderfully amazing, just super perfect space that is that's 50 feet wide. Okay, it's exactly 50 feet wide. Okay, so and you want to use up that entire space because it's got great sunlight, great everything. And you're like, well, I got this 160 feet of fencing that I bought because it was on sale. I got this 50-foot area. Now I need to know how far in this direction I need to go to create a nice rectangular space for my garden. Well, now you could write an expression for the perimeter, which would be the perimeter of this object is going to be 50 plus 50 plus x, and I would need that to be equal to 160. And now what you could do is you could try to figure out, okay, what value would x need to be to make it equal to 160? Okay, so that's a reason that you might want to be able to do that. Or maybe you've got a similar situation with area. Okay, you've got, you went and you looked at a house, okay, and you can't remember how big this one particular room was. You can't remember the dimensions of this room, okay? When I went searching for houses in this area, I had to do that. I went and looked at a room, and I'd be like, I remember the square footage of the room. Like the square footage was, I don't know, 121 square feet. And I'm pretty sure I remember I don't remember exactly what the shape is, but I remember one of the walls being 11 feet. I'm almost positive about that because I remember it being the exact same size as another room, and I wanted to know, well, how big was this? Well, again, you write an expression for the area, 11x equals 121, and now you could go and figure out, well, how big was that other dimension? Oh, it turns out it was a square because the other dimension was 11 feet too. So there's lots of things you can figure out by first making an algebraic expression out of the physical situation. Okay, so on your practice problems for this set, you're first going to just simply practice writing some expressions, and then you're going to get to the point where you practice actually utilizing those expressions in individual problems. I would really suggest that you, even if you don't do all the practice problems, you do all of them that involve you doing something with the expression, solving for something, making it more into a concrete problem rather than just writing the simple expression. I would try at very least all of those, if not all of them, for this section. That's it for today.